Welcome to DVD number 6 of Event Hacks. Fill, market, and monetize every time. Make sure to pay close attention to this session because in it, Dan Kennedy reveals each of the factors you must consider to identify the right mix of media in promoting your event. And not only will he describe these in depth, he'll also walk you through the many different variables that enable you to shape a customer's total value. And it's way beyond what you make when he or she buys a ticket to get in the door. And it's only by having this information in hand will you be able to calculate what you should be willing to spend on media to put that customer in their seat. This is a critical number that you must understand thoroughly to succeed in the event business. For that reason, GKIC is pleased to bring you Dan Kennedy, explaining his secrets to media.
So media is a function of what will the audience accept? What must you use in order to effectively make a sales presentation? And what you can afford. The first is the least important. So I'll start with the second one. You have to figure out what you need to do to make this sales presentation as effectively as you can. So to be simplistic, for example, if you need 30 minutes for your pitch, then doing 7-minute videos, regardless of all of the current norms about online video, regardless of what your web people, and it's pointless. Any more than, so I can tell you, you cannot, other than with the occasional person who was predetermined to buy, you can't sell a set of stainless steel cookware in a living room in less than 90 minutes. It's impossible. Okay. So if you're the sales guy who knocks on the door and she says, yeah, you come on in, but I've only got 10 minutes and then I got to go pick up the kids. If you go in and you're an idiot, you got to go on to the next house because you are not going to be able to do what you need to do in order to make a sale, which is the whole point. So when you think about media, you have to think about what will it take. Right? So somebody will say, well, nobody will read a 36-page sales letter. And first of all, I always say the people who buy read the 36-page sales letter, and we don't care about the non-buyers. But the second thing I'll say is, if it takes me 36 pages to make this presentation, then we have to find people who will read a 36-page sales letter. We have to incentivize them to read we have to persuade them to read a 36-page sales letter, and we have to build it in such a way that we can help them along so they will read a 36-page sales letter. No, we don't abbreviate it to 18 pages. We just don't do it. So this first question about media is always, what do we need to do in order to be effective with the people with whom we'll be effective? And not modify, not surrender or compromise to try and pacify a larger number of people and then be effective with no one. So this governs now, do you do long form copy? Do you do brochures? Do you do raw sales letters? Do you do a book of testimonials? Do you do audio? Do you do video? Do you do online? Do you do offline? And the mix that you do is all governed by, what do I need to do to tell this story in the most effective way possible to people who will attend? Then this has to be counterbalanced with the third thing on my list, which is, what can you afford? So, I mean, money matters. So the total value of having the person in the seat now has to be understood. So registration fee, upsells and add-ons, VIP seating, special dinner, or whatever. what is going to be sold to them at the event. So that's everything from T-shirts to coaching programs and everything in between. The impact of having them at the event on their total retention tenure. If it buys, so for example, if it extends their tenure by 2 months and you have them in continuity at $200 a month, that's $400 in gross value for having them at the event. That has to be added into the total value of having a butt in that seat. If X percentage of them ascend from one level to the another, you got to take that percentage, divide it out over the whole, and maybe there's another $12 there that is in value in having them in the seat. If you have exhibitors who pay $10,000 a piece to be there, in part because there's 500 people there, we divide the 10,000 by the 500. So now you get to a number, less your costs. You want both the gross and the net number, the adjusted gross number. But we get to some number of what having Charlie at the seminar is worth. Now, if we don't know that, every financial decision and every marketing decision, because every marketing decision is actually a financial decision, every financial decision is being made blindfolded. You're Stevie Wonder driving a car. And so this is a critical part of event marketing. If you can't tell me what it's worth to you to have somebody in that chair, or you muck up the number, you give me an incorrect low number, which most people do, or you give me an incorrect high number, I'm going to make bad marketing decisions on your behalf. So you get this number first. The second number is, what of that are you willing to spend to have Charlie in a seat? It's called your maximum allowable. By the way, just for general business purposes, there's a chapter in the No BS Ruthless Management of People and Profits book that is all about money math. And so things like maximum allowable are in there. So you need to be able to tell me now what of this number, the worth number, you're willing to spend. Some people will be willing to spend half of it. Some will be willing to spend 75% of it. Some of them will spend 125% of it because of secondary value of having the person there. This math now governs marketing. Can we do a big, beautiful, hardbound, coffee table size book of our testimonials and send it to everybody? Are we limited to a testimonial booklet on newsprint? Can we do the beautiful hardbound book that only goes to 500 out of the list and the newsprint booklet goes to 4,500? Can we send video crews to tape testimonials in their own habitats? Do we have to settle for letting them make their own video with their smartphone and we use what we get? Can we use FedEx? Can we do a box? Can we only do an envelope? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all that has to be figured out with the math that we have to work with. By and large, the more elaborate things we can do that cannot be ignored and that obligate attention, the better off we are. So to whatever extent the money math will let me, I will run up against the maximum allowable and I will do the most elaborate stuff I can. If I can FedEx everything, I'll FedEx everything. If I have to segment, fine, I'll segment. If if we're going to talk about you being stuck, being a hamster on a wheel, if I could send live hamsters in cages with wheels, if the money would allow it, I would deliver live hamsters in cages with wheels. If not that, I'd like to send a little wind-up hamster toy and a wheel. If not that, just the wind-up hamster toy. If not that, we're down to the picture of the hamster on the wheel. But those are all maximum allowable decisions. There's no question about the marketing, in other words. See, there's no question about the marketing. The correct answer to the marketing questions is the most interesting, the most engaging, the cleverest things that we can do that cannot be easily trashed, that cannot be ignored, and that even obligate to some degree. Gee, they did this cool, clever, expensive thing. I kind of should pay attention now to what it is that they've put in front of me. There's no question about that as a marketing question. The answer is the live hamster in the cage with the wheel in the cage. There's no question. By FedEx, so he gets there alive. This is only financial questions. It's not marketing questions. And so the answer to all the marketing questions is, what can we do that knocks their socks off? That's that question. And then we kind of work backwards based on what we are able to do. The last thing I guess I could say about media is there's no reason to leave a media out. Regardless of what people tell you, different people assimilate different information, different messages, different ways at different times. And there are people who are readers more than they are anything else. If we don't give them print, we lose. There are people who can't read, literally can't read. It's interesting, some years ago I worked on a infomercial. Danny Glover was our celebrity, and it was selling a home study literacy course to adult illiterates. And in doing all the testimonials, an enormous number of these people are people you would think could not be illiterate, including the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Most amazing one was a UPS driver. So he had memorized every address, because he couldn't read anything. And when he got his truck all loaded up, he drove home, and his wife organized his whole route for him. And then he went to let him be doing this for 12 years, this guy. I mean, amazing. But so there's people who functionally can't read. There's people who won't read. There's people who get it by listening. Number one request that I get about my books is I want audiobooks. There's people who are very visual. And so you're into not only video, but should you have a comic book in this mix? And people will move from one to the other as their interest level raises. So John might go online, watch your video sales letter. He might pop the DVD in and watch the DVD. And that will interest him enough now to wade through the 46-page sales letter and the brochure that he didn't want to read in the first place, et cetera. So there's no reason to leave a media out. We really should use every media that we can.
Based on what you discovered in this session, you should now be able to custom tailor just the right mix of media for your upcoming event. But there's still plenty of work to be done, particularly in the mission-critical area known as monetization. And you're in luck because in Session 7, Dan Kennedy will run through 6 of the very best ways anyone can monetize any event, along with the benefits and drawbacks of each approach. There's way more to this than simply selling seats, and you'll definitely want to have all of these strategies working together on your behalf. Check it out right away. And thank you once again for listening to this GKIC program.